everybody, welcome back. My name is Sparks and this is Gamemode 4, the series where we create command block modules that change and modify the gameplay experience. So today's module has taken over a week of work, and just before we start I'd like to give a huge thank you to Bluefire 610 and Spiderrobotman for helping me make this. They put a lot of time into this, same as me, and also to Vilda for making the textures for the liquids in the tanks. So today's module is liquid tanks. Liquid tanks can store liquids inside a hopper-like tank and can be used to compactly store liquids, power furnaces, take and give effects, and all sorts of other things which I'm going to go over during this video. So this is the module. It is the largest and most complicated Gamemode 4 module released so far. I think it's a 6-click. I think it's a 6-click. It might be 8, but it's a lot of clicks because it's just big, but it just does a lot of stuff. Now, amazingly, this has been installed on the Gamemode 4 server, and it is surprisingly low on lag. We've done everything we can, all the tricks we know. You can see most of those command blocks are currently not running. And that's just because of the way we've coded it so that it's as efficient as possible. So liquid tanks, what are they, what do they do, and how do you use them? Well, to begin with, to create a liquid tank, you simply get an item hopper, and you place these items inside. You need a dispenser, a block of redstone, a chest, a sign, and a glass bottle. And all you need to do is throw a glass block on top of that hopper, and you will now have an empty tank. Now, an empty tank has a couple of items inside. There's a glass block, a sign, which tells you how much liquid is inside the tank, and a redstone torch. Now, first of all, if I go down a little bit here, you can see that if I take out the glass block, the tank... Sorry about that, I forgot I had the tank disabled. So this redstone torch in the last slot is disabling the tank. If I take this out, it'll be enabled. Now, if I take the glass block out, it vanishes. This is still a liquid tank. You can just optionally hide the display if you wish. Put the glass block back and it will show the display. The liquids will stay inside. The torch is for disabling the tank. If you don't want it to run, you just take the torch out, and there will be no processes occurring on this tank. It's for reducing lag, basically. Now, tanks can have liquids added and removed using hoppers and dispensers, and can optionally interact with the environment using a brewing stand as a utility tank. So let's go through the liquids and just sort of see how this works. So let's start with lava. This is the first liquid. So you can see we have an empty tank right here. If I remove the torch to enable it, we can put a hopper in the first slot. Let me just grab a couple of those. And you will see that the liquid in the bucket is emptied, and there's a little bit of lava in that tank now. This sign also says 1 out of 30 buckets, and it's now called a lava bucket. So I can add more lava to increase the amount of lava in this tank. Slowly but surely. There we go. So that's now got 3 buckets inside it. Now the maximum is 30 buckets. This display will be completely full at that point. Okay, so a water tank. The same thing again. Let's get a water bucket, and it's pretty much the same thing. You can put one of those in there and a hopper in there to suck it out. Now if you put you can see there's a water source in this now. If we put a dispenser in that slot, it will reverse the mode of the tank. So now, instead of emptying buckets placed in the first slot, it will fill empty buckets with the liquid that's inside. So this is now again an empty tank, and if we exit and re-enter the inventory, you can see it says empty again. So that's basically how that works. Let's just take a look at the other liquids. So there's milk. Milk has some special properties when placed inside a tank. And you can see when it's disabled, nothing happens. You have to take this torch out for it to work. So there's our milk tank. We've got rabbit stew. Rabbit stew has special properties that can be applied to a player. There we go. Delicious. Very nice rabbit stew. All these textures were made by Vilda. Mushroom stew, very much the same story. There's mushroom stew in there now. You can see if I put a dropper in here, we get a bowl of stew back. Bowls are worth 1/3 of a bucket. Everything in this tank is measured in thirds of a bucket. So obviously lava buckets, water and milk buckets are all 1 bucket each. So 3/3 of a bucket. And the stew and mushroom stew and potions are mostly all 1/3 of a bucket because they're smaller. So we've done the stews there. Perfect. Let's take a look at experience. So with an experience tank, there's 2 ways of adding experience to a tank. There's actually 3. You can stand on top of it if it's a utility tank using a brewing stand in the last slot. But if I stand on this right now, even though I have levels, it won't turn it into experience tank. So that if you stand on it by accident, it doesn't convert an empty tank to an experience tank. There's 2 things you can do. By putting a hopper in this slot, you could either add a bottle of enchanting, to add a total of 9 XP. Now, with experience bottles, with experience tanks, it actually shows how many levels are in the tank instead of buckets, and the maximum it can hold is 30 levels worth of XP. So I left my dispenser over here. There it is. So I can take that back out. It'll become an empty tank, and I'll just quickly show you that you can also use a lapis lazuli block. This is because experience bottles of enchanting are hard to get at the start, so this will add 1 XP to your tank and consume the lapis, but you can use this to enable it as an experience tank if you wish. Okay, so the last item type that you can add is potions. Now there are a lot of potions that you can add to one of these liquid tanks, and you can stand under them, under a utility tank, to get the potion effect. So the way it works is there's usually two types of tank per potion. So for example, regeneration, there's extended regeneration, which is 2 minutes instead of 45 seconds, and there's regen 2. So the way this works is, if I just grab these 3 as an example, if I put a regeneration potion in here, it's going to fill up 1/3 of a bucket, okay? And I can take 1 potion's worth back out. Now, an extended regeneration potion, a 2-minute one, will add 3/3 of a bucket, so 1 bucket worth total to the tank. So if I put this in, we will get more. It'll say 1 out of 30 buckets, and you can mix these together. So extended and regular length mixed together in a tank. Now, if we wanted to use a tank of regeneration 2, you'll notice in a second that we're going to get multiple potions out. We put 2 in, but 1 of them was extended, so we're going to get 4 out because these are all regular ones. And there should be 1 more. There we go. And now the tank is empty, so we won't get any more potions. So let's just take a look at the regen 2. Very similar, except it's only accepting regen 2 potions. So it's a regeneration 2 tank. This won't accept regular regen potions. It's worth noting with potions that you have to brew these in survival. If you just get them out of the creative menu down here, they have a different damage value and they won't work with the tanks. So these are all survival brewed potions right here. And the ones you get back are survival brewed style as well. So let's get on to the utility tank features. So by placing a brewing stand in the last slot of a tank, you enable the utility feature. Now the main reason why this is an option is because it adds a little bit of lag to what the tank is doing. So if you're not using a utility tank, I recommend taking your brewing stand out of the last slot. So let's take a look at this. Over here we have some furnaces. They've all got items inside them waiting to be smelted. And in the middle we have a full lava tank. This has got 30 buckets in it. I'm just going to enable it. There we go. And we're going to add a brewing stand to the last slot. And you'll see that all of these furnaces have now turned on. And they're consuming the lava inside the tank directly. So there's no fuel in the fuel slot here, but each of them is sent 1/3 of a bucket at a time. So a normal lava bucket smelts 100 items. This smelts 33 items per 1/3 of a bucket. So you've basically got 30 buckets of lava in there. Each of these furnaces will consume an amount each, so you're not saving any efficiency by using 4 per tank. You're still consuming the same amount of lava, but it's a very compact, neat way of fueling your furnaces, and there's no bucket in here or anything, so there's no danger of sucking it up, which is very helpful. You can see this can power it from all 4 sides, and this will only work with utility tanks. There's quite a few other things you can do with utility tanks. So first of all, you can set up a utility tank to give you an effect clear. So for example, if I give myself regeneration for 10 seconds like this, if I stand under this, it will clear any effects I have on me, play a little splooshy sound, and it will consume some of the liquid in this tank. So you can hear it every second or so. It's giving me that potion effect. This can be applied to any mob that you place under it. So I could put a cow down here. The only entity that it doesn't process is items. So you can use it to apply, to remove potion effects from anything you like, really. The skeleton is on fire. Ignore him. Now, the cool thing with this tank, you can see it's now empty, is that you can actually... I should have had these spawn eggs ready. Let me get right back to you. There we go. I also took the opportunity to breathe in. Right, so if we spawn a cow just above this... Can't quite click up there. If we spawn a cow on top of this, it's going to actually add milk slowly to this tank. Every 5 minutes or so. Oops. Little baby cow. Every 5 minutes or so, it will add milk to this tank. It will do... cow will add milk to any empty tank under it with the util brewing stand in the last slot. Every 5 minutes or so, every cow on top of a hopper will add milk to the tank. So if you put 30 cows on there, it'll fill up in about 5 minutes to full. You cannot get past the 30 bucket limit on a stand, on a tank using more than 30 cows. You can do the same thing with potions. So first of all, if there's an effect in a potion, we have a regeneration tank right here standing underneath. We'll apply the effect to anything stood underneath. So you can see this cow has now got a regeneration effect. It won't help him, believe me. But the other thing you can do with this is you can actually spawn a witch or put a witch on top of one of these tanks, and you can see that it's added a potion to the tank. So this has now created a tank of speed. There are 4 possible potion effects that a witch can apply to a tank that it stood on. Those effects are regeneration, fire resistance, speed, and instant damage. I had to actually consult the Gamemode 4 wiki for that. This is such a big module. There's just so much to it. Okay, so an empty tank will be filled by a random potion by a witch that stood on it. And like the cows, every 5 minutes or so it will add to the count. However, the most that a tank can contain with a witch stood on top is 3 buckets. So that's 9 potions is the max that you can store in a tank using a witch. After that, it'll stop filling the tank, just so that you've got to work a little bit harder to get the potions off the witches. So that's kind of cool. So there's speed in there right now. And there's one more thing you can do. You can use soups to saturate yourself. So if I quickly stand along here, you can see I have hunger right now. I'm just going to wait for that to soak up some hunger. There we go. I'm getting quite hungry. And inside this tank, we have rabbit stew, which is actually a really, really good food source in a tank. If I stand underneath this, you can see that it just replenished all my hunger. Fantastic. And consumed 1/3 of a bucket of soup. This is now an empty tank. Now, mushrooms placed on top of an empty tank will actually fill the tank with soup. Similar to cows, this is mushroom soup, which adds a slightly lesser saturation effect than rabbit stew because it's a little bit cheaper to get hold of. So, but just like the rabbit stew, it will apply a saturation effect if you're stood under it. So that's pretty good. It's now empty. It'll probably take about 5 minutes to fill up again. And the last thing that you can do with the utility tank is store experience. So much like the Ender Chest XP system, there is the ability to store XP using this module. Now, let's just quickly create ourselves an experience tank using a hopper and a lapis block and removing the disabling torch. There we go. So this is now an experience tank. Now I have 30 levels on me right now. If I stand on top of this, nothing will happen. It needs to be a utility tank. Good thing I remembered. There we go. Now if I stand on top of it, you can see my levels are slowly dropping and the tank is slowly filling. Now this will take a maximum of 30 levels worth of liquid. So it'll probably stop me just short of getting rid of all my levels. There we go, because there was a tiny bit of XP in there already from that piece of lapis. So if we stand underneath this, experience will be dispensed to us from the tank. So unlike the Ender Chest experience storage, this will allow you to share experience with other people. And of course you can also bottle the XP that you own. So that's kind of cool. And that's basically all of the features that are offered by the liquid tanks. It's a crazy, crazy complicated module, and I'm really pleased with it. And my lights just dimmed in a very frightening way. I'm slightly scared. So I think that covers everything. There is a link to the Wikipedia page, the Gamemode 4 wiki page for this module, if you want to go and read up about it, because there is a lot to remember. As always, you can download this from the video description via the Gamemode 4 website as a click-in or a schematic. I hope you like the module, and I'll see you next time.